In today's breaking story, Trump just stunned reporters with a surprise backtrack on one of his top policies. That's right, Taco Trump strikes again. How's it going, everybody? Hunter Avalone here with Occupy Democrats. Welcome back to another video. Now, Donald Trump has backtracked on a lot of things, and as an extension, so have Republicans. I mean, just a few months ago, they were all set on releasing the Epstein files. Now, not so much.
Why are the MAGA folk who were promising bombshells now dragging their feet? I'm old enough to remember this.
Release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. Why is the FBI protecting the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
Some governments around the world may have some material that's related to the Epstein thing. Bill Clinton was knee deep in this, man.
He was knee deep. Yeah, you got to release it. Now what? What changed? They literally campaigned on this. It was part of the platform of MAGA.
And it's obvious that Trump is not happy about this scandal.
There's, of course, a lot of frustration over this. This is something that the president and his team have tried multiple times now to shrug off and to try and brush aside. And all of those efforts have failed. And even despite their best efforts to prevent this vote from happening, and particularly trying to peel away some Republicans in the House who ultimately signed on to that discharge petition, it now looks like they are going to see even more Republicans get on board with this. And we've had our great Capitol Hill reporters running around talking to Republicans who are saying, yeah, we're going to vote for this bill. I might not have gotten on the discharge petition to force a vote, but when this comes up, I am going to put my name behind this. And so this is, of course, a huge dilemma for them, and one of the very few areas where we actually see members of the president's own party breaking so publicly with him. Now, you mentioned this, but one of the strategies that House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has really been trying to kind of help the White House in this entire messaging and the politics of this really controversial Epstein case, of course, he said that he's going to expedite this vote. And essentially what he has said in part of that was that, he believes it's moot now because there are so many emails. I mean, we saw the House Democrats from the Oversight Committee release 20,000 documents from Epstein's estate. There is so much that is coming out now. He called it a moot point. But the problem is, and this is what I'm hearing in some of my conversations with Republicans outside of the Trump administration, is that if it's a moot point, then why did the White House, for example, on Wednesday have a meeting in the Situation Room, the place where, they monitored the bin Laden, capture? Is why were they bringing in a single member of the House, a Republican, to try and convince them not to get on board with this?
And now Trump just stunned reporters with a surprise backtrack on his top policy. That's right, take a look at today's breaking story. President Trump stunned reporters today with one of the most abrupt economic reversals of his presidency. After months of insisting that tariffs were cost-free, effective, and the cornerstone of his economic strategy, the White House has now quietly rolled back tariffs on dozens of major food products, and the irony is impossible to miss. For months, economists, Democrats, and even some Republicans have warned that Trump's blanket tariffs made no sense for goods we simply cannot produce here in America. They have been saying it over and over. Tariffs on coffee, avocados, bananas, coconuts, beef, mangoes, tomatoes. These are not American-grown products at any meaningful scale. All tariffs do in these cases is raise prices on American families. For months, Trump dismissed that as fear-mongering. He mocked affordability concerns and even called rising grocery prices a con job invented by Democrats. That has now changed. After Republicans were wiped out in last week's elections, Trump is not mocking those concerns anymore. he is scrambling to fix them. Today, the White House announced a sweeping list of exemptions. Starting immediately and retroactively, major food imports will no longer face the baseline 10% tariff Trump imposed on nearly all foreign goods. The administration admitted for the first time that these foods cannot be produced in sufficient quantities in the United States. In other words, the exact point Democrats have been making all along. Now, despite Trump's months of denial, grocery prices are up 2.7% compared to last year. So what triggered the sudden awakening? Analysts say the message from last week's elections was impossible for the White House to ignore. The big picture is straightforward. Democrats and economists have been shouting this from the rooftops. Tariffs on goods we cannot grow or produce domestically are effectively a tax on American families. And now that those families sent Trump a political warning shot, he finally seems to be listening. Thanks so much for watching. Please click that like button and subscribe to Occupy Democrats so that you can stay informed and help us stop Donald Trump.